Hello, and welcome to Agriculture for Life and Food Field Trip. Today we're here with Rocky Mountain Equipment, and who will be teaching us all about agriculture equipment. Before we get started, make sure you have your activity sheets out in front of you. As we go through the interview, we'll be answering all the questions on the activity sheet, so make sure to follow along. Now let's give a warm welcome to our guest speaker. Please welcome Jim Wood, Chief Sales and Operations Officer at Rocky Mountain Equipment.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Steph.
All right, let's take a look at some equipment that we can find on the farm.
Did you know that farmers use a variety of agriculture equipment on their farm? Farmers rely on agriculture equipment to feed the world. Let's go over some of the agriculture equipment you will typically find on a farm. This is a tractor. Tractors can come in all shapes and sizes. It is a large wheeled or tracked machine used mainly on farms for pulling and hauling things, such as other ag equipment. For instance, a cultivator. A cultivator is hauled by a tractor. It uses metal blades that dig into the earth to turn up the soil. This gets rid of any old plants or weeds, then flattens the soil, preparing it for new seeds to be planted. After cultivation, farmers use seeders. This farm equipment helps producers plant their seeds by drilling them into the soil. Next, we have sprayers. Sprayers shower crop inputs, such as herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, or fertilizers on a crop. Herbicides, pesticides, and fungicides protect the crop from weeds, bugs, and funguses, while fertilizer provide nutrients that crops need to grow. A combine is used to harvest grain crops by combining the tasks of cutting, sorting, and cleaning. The invention of the combine improved harvesting by combining the operations of reaping, threshing, and winnowing. Finally, we have a baler. Balers gather a cut crop and compresses it into bales, like the ones you see out in the field. Each one of these machines are a key part of a farmer's operations.
Okay, now that we know about some of the equipment you can find on the farm, can you tell us how agriculture equipment is important for growing food sustainably?
Yeah, definitely. So the farm equipment plants the crop. It takes care of the crop as it grows throughout the season, and then it harvests the crop in the end.
And how does this relate to precision agriculture and responsible management?
So precision ag is a term for incorporating technology into the equipment. It helps the equipment be more efficient, more productive, and for instance, a sprayer only applies the certain product in a certain place at a certain time, which is responsible management.
That's really neat. Can you give us some examples and how it's used?
Yeah, like there's satellites, sensors, drones. The equipment nowadays actually tracks the data in the equipment as you're using it, and then you can take that data and you can make decisions based on the farm.
Okay, now let's watch a quick video on precision agriculture and technology.
Farmers and producers have a responsibility to take care of the land they grow our food on. They responsibly manage the land by calculating the amount of crop inputs. This is called precision agriculture. Precision agriculture uses technology to make sure their fields receive exactly the right amount of crop inputs. An example of crop inputs are things like fertilizer, which give crops the nutrients they need, or herbicides and pesticides, which protects crops from unwanted weeds or bugs. Agriculture equipment uses different technologies to help farmers make decisions on when and where to apply crop inputs in their field. Satellites, drones, and sensors will collect field map data, which is then used by agriculture equipment, such as sprayers, to understand the condition of the crop. By making sure that the perfect amount of crop inputs are used, it helps farmers prevent any extra runoff from getting into the surrounding environment. This is an example of responsible management. With precision agriculture, producers can ensure they are farming sustainably while also feeding the world.
Agriculture equipment is so important for us to grow our food. Growing our food sustainably is especially important to feed a growing population. But how do these machines work?
What's cool about ag equipment is while they are complex machines, they are made up of many small machines. Simplicity helps reduce the amount of effort required to do the work. A simple machine found in all machinery is the wheel and axle. The thin rod is the axle and the round circle is the wheel. The steering wheel is another example of a wheel and axle. It uses torsion to turn the tractor.
So, kind of like what we see on our cars. And can you tell us how these simple machines transfer energy in these farm machines? And where does it get its energy from?
Yeah, sure. So let's take this tractor, for instance. The wheel and the axle are powered by the tractor's transmission. Transmissions in a tractor transfer energy from the engine to the wheels. Most farm machinery run on processed fossil fuels as its energy resource. A tractor engine converts hydraulic energy from oil to mechanical energy in the form of rotary motion. The oil in the tractor also prevents the creation of friction between the moving parts in the engine.
How is a tractor able to pull agriculture equipment?
Well, as we learned earlier, a tractor is used mainly on farms for pulling and hauling. Here's a short video to explain the forces between tractors and ag equipment.
When it comes to agriculture equipment, there are different forces that come into play. Let's take the tractor as an example. When a tractor is pulling agriculture equipment like a seeder or a cultivator, the agriculture equipment would be the load. The amount of pull or push a tractor needs to move an object is known as the force. For a tractor to pull a seeder or a cultivator, it must overcome its drag force. A tractor then exerts an action force when pulling it forward or pushing it backwards.
Let's look at the baler. A baler is one example of farm machinery that tractors haul. What is it and how does it work?
Yeah, so this baler is a round bale. It creates round bales which are used for livestock, food, and bedding. These machines compressing hay and straw. Compression is an internal force exerted on an object that squeezes, squashes, or compacts the object. We have all kinds of other ag equipment as well to help farmers.
All right, so now we're coming to the end of our virtual field trip. Before we wrap, take some time to answer your questions. So if you do have questions, now's the time to enter them into the chat. We'll just give you a few seconds to enter your questions into the chat and we'll start going through them. All right, we'll give a few more questions or a few more minutes if you have any questions to enter them in. Don't think we have any yet. Let's see. All right. Which piece of machinery is the most expensive is the first question we have.
The most expensive piece of machinery we sell in ag equipment is a combine.
All right, a combine is the most expensive. Okay, now the questions are really coming in. One question we have here, how exactly does the hay get fed into the baler?
Before you use the baler, you use a mower conditioner, which actually cuts the hay and it puts it into a swath or a windrow. And then the baler comes along and uses the pickup to draw the hay into the baler and then start compressing it.
Okay. Another question here. Our students are asking how the plants survive when they're squished by the machine.
When they're squished, I'm assuming they're referring to the baler, and you don't want the plants to survive. You want them to be basically when the mower conditioner cuts them and then and then the baler compresses them. You want that compact bale so it keeps, and then you take the bale, unravel it, and then feed it to your cows. By then you want the plant to be dead.
That makes sense. Okay, another question we have. What would be the strongest farm equipment and how much can it pull?
For the brands we sell, it'd be 715 horsepower. And typically you would pull like 100-foot cultivator or air seeder.
Okay. Next question. How many tractors does a farmer usually have?
Depending on the size of the farm, if the farmer is more into livestock, cattle, They typically don't have combines. They'd have a couple tractors and baler and mower conditioner. A typical large farm, which would be, let's say a farm that 4,000 to 10,000 acres, they could have up to 5 combines, 2 or 3 large horsepower tractors, sprayer, you name it, everything to complete the growing process from spring to fall.
So it could depend on the size of the farm.
Typically, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And which machine is the most often used in Alberta?
Well, because tractors come in all different, the most sizes and configurations, I would say tractor.
Tractor. Okay. What would be the cheapest piece of equipment?
Not farming. I don't. Once again, a small tractor, maybe.
Okay, a small tractor. Let's see, we'll do a few more questions. How has the selection or choices of crops changed over the years?
Well, I think for the most part, the farmer wants to grow something that grows, where they live. So some crops grow better in different soils. You always want to have a rotation. You don't always want to be growing the same crop, on the same piece of ground every year. And then it's also what the grain prices are. If canola is, more rewarding than barley, for instance, you'll see a shift to go from barley to canola, just as an example.
Okay. Dawn is asking, how old do you have to be to drive a tractor?
I don't think there's a legal limit. I don't know. I drove one when I was 10, so.
All right. So this is probably seen earlier when we had the camera on the tractor, but someone's asking, how much do the tires weigh on a tractor, since they are so much bigger than a tire you would see on a car?
Well, typically they're so heavy you have to use a forklift to change a tire. So you probably 500 to 1,000 pounds, something like that.
So definitely a lot more than a car and much more than somebody could lift. Yeah. Okay. What is the oldest piece of agriculture equipment?
The oldest piece of farm equipment that we sell, or that we just, like the plow was one of the first inventions. Yeah. Tractors were made late 1800s, early 1900s.
Yeah. So they've been around for quite a while.
And as technology grows, they just get more sophisticated. You can get more done with less equipment. They're more productive. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that relates back to sustainability and being able to produce a lot more food for the growing population. Yeah. Okay. How do the bales come out of the baler?
The back tailgate opens and it rolls out.
Okay. So nice and easy.
Yeah.
How much is a round hay bale worth?
$150.
Okay. Let's just do a couple more questions here. So we've had lots coming in. How long does it take to harvest a field of wheat?
It depends on the size of combine you have or how many combines you would have in a field, but yeah, 3 hours.
3 hours, and probably depends on the size of the field too.
Yeah,
a lot of different factors. Yeah.
Like you could be there half a day depending on your size of your equipment and how big the field is. But.
Okay. Then this question is for you personally. How long have you worked at RME and what do you do exactly?
I've been in RME for 13 years. I basically have the privilege of leading the organization. So every dealership I work with. So we have 43 locations across Western Canada.
Nice. That's awesome. You must like it to stay around for that long.
Yeah. Keep putting up.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do one more question.
Okay.
How big is the average farm?
In Alberta, it is roughly, I would say, 3,000 to 4,000 acres for a grain farm.
3,000 to 4,000 acres, so pretty big.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up there. So thank you so much to everyone who joined today, and thank you, Jim, for letting us come and interview you and look at all your equipment.
Cool. Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good day, everyone. Thanks for joining.